In the divine realm, floating islands and cascading waterfalls, reside the universe's most powerful beings. They're whisked to a massive coliseum deep in a forest, where the announcer commands attention for the upcoming spectacle. A red-haired goddess watches as the narrator reveals a human wielding power that eclipses the gods. Legendary figures observe as Greece's mightiest hero makes his dramatic entrance. A ceremony to crown the new divine king unfolds, gathering all the gods to cast their votes. A muscular hand clamps a club, its surrounding energy trembling with raw force. With a thunderous strike, the warrior unleashes a lightning blast that awes the entire arena. Hercules, the demigod, appears, muscles bulging, weapon in hand, encased in golden lightning. He flashes a confident grin, ready to dominate and prove his unmatched strength. Suddenly, the dog-faced announcer cuts in, declaring the vote that will decide if the 12 Labor's hero becomes king. When asked to raise their hands, silence reigns. No one backs the candidate. Seeing 0 votes, the towering hero is stunned, baffled by the lack of support. The other gods yawn, some even nap, as this endless 300-year stalemate over a simple majority drags on. From afar, a white-haired girl watches the chaos on a screen, scoffing that the dispute will never resolve. She is revealed as Zeus, the reigning god-king, bored out of her mind by the bureaucracy. She hops onto the throne, urging her aide to devise a more thrilling pastime. The aide proposes a fighting tournament, but she dismisses it as stale, refusing a repeat. She smirks darkly, warning that a mere strength test would see her annihilate everyone instantly. At last, the aide recalls a catastrophe brewing in the underworld, while the ruler admits she's forgotten its name. Shocked, the aide glares, chastising her boss for the lapse. She suddenly remembers a portal erupting in the city, unleashing a massive burst of violet energy onto the streets. The gate materialized without warning, shocking every human with its abrupt appearance. A towering dark portal then loomed over the mortal world, suspended among ominous clouds. Fiery meteors rained down, raising everything and striking terror into the populace below. To humanity's horror, the gate disgorged wave after wave of monsters to ravage the planet. First emerged tiny green beings with crimson eyes that glowed in the night. These feral goblins instantly swarmed the helpless crowds, tearing through the city. Humans named the catastrophe the Gate of Ruin, or Ragnarok, and the crisis escalated dramatically. In the divine realm, the assistant frets while the queen remains indifferent, even lauding humanity's effort. Then the white-haired girl leaps from her throne, eyes alight with a sudden, daring plan. A mischievous grin spreads as she tells her aide she's just hatched a brilliant plan. The new rule: the god who contracts with a human and seals the gate wins the throne. She declares it a divine constraint, and a thrilling game for her to watch. Candidates may ally or annihilate each other. The savior becomes the next god king. She shouts excitedly, launching a battle royale of gods, heroes, and humans forming teams. 10 years later, a boy endures a scolding from a blonde bully who drenches him with a bucket of water. The bully scoffs at wasting time on a weak trainee, until a massive explosion erupts behind them. Startled, a boy pushes through the smoke and flames to glimpse the source. Amid the chaos, towering ant-like monsters emerge, swarming the panicked crowd. A fiery figure strikes, slashing a giant insect with a swift, precise blow. A golden aura lifts a mysterious hunter from the blaze, hovering above the chaos. He is Yuzuki Kamiyo, the 5th ranked hunter bonded with the sun god Rei. Fans flood him with letters as he soars through the city, flames trailing behind. Students gasp, claiming he felled the monsters in one strike. Hunters wielding gods are insane. The blonde bully snaps at the red-haired boy, insisting he feels the weight more than anyone. That's Hanada Kamio, Yuzuki's older brother, an F-rank support with no divine pact. From a rooftop, the famed hunter stares at the city, his face a mask of emptiness. His expression snaps to pure fury, unveiling his darker side. Elsewhere, the blonde and his crew corner Hanada, demanding if he and his brother are truly twins. One boy taunts him for his F-rank and lack of contract as the bully yanks his hair. A shadowy figure steps into the alley, and the bully's eyes widen in terror. It's Yuzuki, smiling as he asks, "Can I join the fun?" Terrified, the bullies scramble out of the alley. The younger brother thanks his savior, who gently ruffles his hair. He urges his sibling to stand up, warning that silence invites endless abuse. Suddenly, the popular kid lands a brutal punch to his brother's stomach, leaving him bewildered. He vomits a strange liquid, collapsing in agonizing pain. The black-haired boy declares he's the only one allowed to bully his older brother. He then kicks him, sneering that weakness is pathetic. Pressing his foot down, he taunts, "You can't even defend yourself." The bully freezes as a dark silhouette looms on a nearby rooftop, observing the chaos. The shadow, its eyes glowing violet, taunts the boy to relish his humiliation. The younger sibling urges his tormentor to savor the sting of everyone's scorn. Sprawled on the pavement, the red-haired boy shouts that the power should rightfully belong to him. The black-haired youth's eyes flare with fury as he snarls, "I told you never to mention that again." Flashback, their childhood reveals a starkly different dynamic between the brothers. He once thought his family was perfect, basking in his mother's praise at the dinner table. A beaming child receives a head pat for acing his test. From afar, Yuzuki watches, his sorrow evident as he clutches his own report card. The other boy's dismal grade drives him to crumple the paper in shame. Their father consoles the boy, reminding him they're twins and he can do it too. Yet the black-haired brother has harbored a darker vibe since childhood. Their mother tries to lift spirits, noting the other son excelled in math. The red-haired child is baffled by her cryptic remark. Suddenly, she looks out and spots a massive, odd monster with a single pink eye staring back. The creature bursts in, shattering everything, as the mother clutches her son to shield him. The beast is grotesque, multiple strange eyes, razor teeth, poised for a final strike. In a split second, the father throws himself before his brother, taking the monster's blow. The monster slams down, and amid the blast it swallows the black-haired boy's test paper. Amid the burning wreckage, the boy screams in anguish, seeing his mother trapped in the inferno. The red-haired boy steels himself, refusing to abandon his mother to the flames. From a distance, a divine figure watches as he dashes through fire to rescue her. The sun god Ra wonders why the boy charges headfirst into the blaze without fear. His mother begs him to run, but he shouts he's almost there to save her. He strains against falling debris as the ceiling threatens to collapse. She looks up in terror, realizing the ceiling will crush her brave son. In a final act of love, she hurls him aside to spare him the crushing weight. The structure caves in, burying her forever beneath the wreckage. The child sobs, helpless as his mother perishes, left utterly alone. Outside, he stares at the smoldering ruin, stunned by the tragedy. From the wreckage, his brother spots their father's fallen hand, realizing he too perished in the assault. A cryptic voice declares it witnessed his fleeting act of bravery. It adds that it's searching for one who never flinches before the underworld's fire. The sun god materializes in radiant splendor, proclaiming this is the kind of man he favors. The deity extends a hand, offering the boy a potent pact. They clasp, sealing the contract in golden light, while his brother yells his name. Simultaneously, the red-haired boy bursts from the flames to glimpse the scene outside. He sees the sun god cradling his brother, a tiny golden flame flickering in his grasp. Ra wonders if he chose the wrong mortal as Hanada rushes to his brother, demanding to know their father's whereabouts. An evil grin spreads as Yuzuki clutches the golden flame, savoring the sun god's power. As his brother approaches, the boy unleashes a fiery blast, yelling, "Don't touch me!" The inferno hurls the redhead across the room, slamming him into a concrete wall. Bruised and bewildered, he can't grasp why his own brother struck so cruelly. Empowered by the contract, he snarls that his sibling always despised him as the useless younger brother. He hisses that his brother's status was mere luck, not merit. Now the tables turn. He alone has been granted the god's boundless power. A wicked laugh echoes as he readies another strike, declaring his brother gets what he deserves. He launches a towering column of golden energy, obliterating everything in its wake. The redhead collapses, defeated, as the contract's flame flickers beside him. Triumphant, he declares it's his turn to dominate, proving his superiority. In the alley, the sun god hovers between the brothers, his golden aura blazing. Ra apologizes, admitting he confused the redhead with another, and reveals himself as the Egyptian sun god. He laments how impossible it is to distinguish identical twins. The older brother erupts, demanding why the god would grin at such misuse of power. Furious, the younger brother rips open his shirt, exposing a massive sun scar on his chest. He's questioned about regret, but the god coldly replies he doesn't care. The younger brother recoils, disgusted by the god's remorseless stance. He explains that sibling rivalry to the death runs deep in his lineage, flashing a family tree. He concludes that modern humans cling to love, leaving them unable to survive alone. He declares Yuzuki unique. His icy demeanor makes him the perfect warrior, matching the god's power. He declares he couldn't wish for a finer partner in this age, leaving the redhead stunned. A wicked grin spreads as the younger brother demands confirmation that the god's words were heard. He bids the hapless brother farewell, slinging, talentless nobody, before walking away. An urgent mission alert crackles in, pulling the duo into a fresh assignment. He cheers the news, eager to finally unleash his power after the previous skirmish. His vision blurs and he collapses in the dark alley, overwhelmed by humiliation. Night descends, streetlights flickering to life across the city. He jolts awake on the alley floor, the sting of his brother's strike still searing. He struggles to his feet, questioning how long he lay in the cold. Elsewhere, a pale blonde leans against a lamppost, fighting nausea. The effort fails, and he collapses to his knees, utterly drained. The redhead recalls that after their parents died, his brother grew ever more tyrannical and hostile. He alone knows the dark truth hidden behind his brother's heroic facade. Every time crowds cheered his brother, a single, damning thought haunted him. In the present, the young man weeps, leaning against a post, haunted by his parents' death. A solitary tear rolls down as he imagines how different life could have been that fateful day. He wishes his brother had perished instead, and suddenly a massive explosion erupts behind him. The blast hurls him away, revealing the source, a bizarre, towering creature. The monster, an enormous, armored armadillo, lies shattered amid the wreckage. To his horror, the fallen beast is his own brother, battered and broken. Confusion swirls as the street is engulfed by an eerie blue energy. A massive column of water erupts from the ground, obliterating everything nearby. The redhead spots a lone puddle sliding toward him across the sidewalk. From the torrent rises an S-rank undine, an elemental that nullifies fire. He sees the creature hasn't noticed them, and knows he must rescue his brother now. He lunges at the fallen Yuzuki, shouting for him to flee, but terror roots him in place. In that chaos, a dark, tempting thought flickers through his mind. He imagines simply abandoning his brother to the alley's fate. Memories of his own suffering surge, whispering that his miserable life might finally improve. Frozen, he teeters between saving his brother and letting destiny decide. A shadowy voice suddenly echoes, demanding why he hesitates. The voice tempts him, promising revenge if he simply turns his back. It points to the water creature closing in on his unconscious brother. It whispers that his envy will be rewarded, leave his brother, and his wish will be granted. He realizes an action would finally make his wish for his brother's disappearance come true. A cold sweat breaks across his face as conflict tears him apart. The dark presence offers two choices, flee and survive, or face the monster and die. He imagines walking away, freeing himself from his brother's shadow forever. But the memory of his mother's crushing death forces a decisive resolve. He recalls her dying plea, protect his younger brother. Overwhelmed, tears stream as he accepts the burden of being the protector, despite his humiliation. His eyes sharpen, fear fading as he zeroes in on what truly matters. The redhead lunges forward, doubts silenced, refusing to stay the coward he once feared. Despite his hatred, he throws himself into the fray, declaring that as the older brother he won't flee. The dark presence sneers, calling his soft heart foolishness. A sinister grin spreads, conceding that such nobility commands respect. The voice declares its fascination, offering a contract to rewrite his destiny. He shouts in confusion, demanding the figure's identity, but the shadow dismisses his question. The water beast readies a full-force strike, the air thickening with danger. Its blue aura flares, promising merciless devastation. A massive water blast erupts, and he shields his unconscious brother as everything shatters. The blast hurls them apart, leaving both sprawled and exposed to the monster's looming strike. The pavement shatters, forming a massive crater, and the redhead gapes at the sheer devastation. The shadow warns, if his family's protection is genuine, he must roar with every breath to seal the pact. The entity whispers dark promises into his ear, asking if he's ready to bear the cost of this newfound power. His eyes flash with resolve, confirming he's committed and won't retreat. Fury fuels his shout. If the entity betrays him, he'll never forgive it, as he confronts the water beast without fear. He opens his mouth, issuing his first command, and the surrounding air thrums with a heavy, ominous energy. He unleashes the Black Blade technique, ensnaring the foe in shadow and revealing his divine power. Surrounded by a dark aura, he lets out a war cry, ready to unleash his new ability. The elemental creature reels, stunned by the overwhelming force of his opponent. The water beast instantly retaliates, hurling a barrage of razor-fast ice spears. The spears slam into the shadow's barrier, barely leaving a mark. Dark energy absorbs the assault, remaining unscathed. From the gloom, the redhead emerges, katana drawn, ready for battle. With steely resolve, he prepares to unleash the full power of his new pact. He warns the creature, he's no god, and he holds no allegiance to them. Declaring he's no hero, he braces as the monster gathers another massive water strike. In a blur, he lunges forward, delivering a pinpoint, high-speed assault. Dodging the onslaught, he closes the gap, showcasing his newfound agility. Fury in his voice, he vows to give everything he has to shield his younger brother. He slashes the creature repeatedly, it's bewildered by his blinding speed. Bathed in moonlight, the elemental monster stands still, visibly weakened. His dark blade delivers a final strike, ending the battle forever. Now he knows he finally wields the power to shield his loved ones. The water beast shatters into fragments, vanquished at last. From above, he surveys the wreckage, questioning if he truly felled an S-rank foe. Stunned, he realizes an A-rank opponent fell before his solo effort. Suddenly, memories of his brother surge, and he sprints to check his fate. The redhead darts to his brother, pleading, "Are you alright?" He leans in, scrutinizing his breathing with careful attention. Relieved to see his brother alive, the young man thanks fate for their survival. Suddenly, the water monster regenerates behind them, catching the hero off guard. Enraged, he shouts his disbelief and readies for battle. Confusion clouds his mind as he hesitates, unsure how to wield the sword. He attempts his previous power, only to realize he can't recall the activation. The redhead breaks into a cold sweat, knowing the enemy won't wait for his memory. The creature conjures water spheres, and panic spikes as he lacks a counter. It unleashes a barrage of blue energy beams at the brothers. He tries to block, but the speed of the attacks blurs their trajectories. Desperate, he cries out to the entity, begging for guidance to reclaim the dark power. But his new ally remains silent, tightening the boy's nerves. Frustrated, he reminds the shadow of their pact, demanding its aid. He screams for a response as the deadly beams close in. A beam slams into him, piercing his torso with lethal force. The impact forces him to vomit a strange fluid, searing pain radiating through him. He realizes the dire stakes. If this continues, both will perish. The water monster grins wickedly, charging a final, fatal strike. An energy blast slams into his head, eliciting a guttural scream. Bruised and prone, he calls out for his brother, his concern unwavering. Even on the brink of collapse, he vows to save his sibling, no matter the price. The boy claws at his katana, pulling himself up to rejoin the battle. His eyes flare crimson, igniting newfound resolve. A surge of red energy erupts from his chest, primed to unleash his hidden power. He watches the dark force surge back through his blade, bewildered. A black-red aura engulfs him, reviving the contract's might. With steely focus, he steadies the overwhelming power to keep it in check. Dark talismans materialize around him as the energy ripples across the field. The water monster instantly gathers a massive sphere, ready to strike. It launches a full-force blue beam straight at the hero. The red-haired fighter smiles wickedly, his eyes blazing, fear gone. Unflinching, the boy meets the onslaught head-on, ready to give everything. He lifts his sword, now pulsing with a dark, potent aura, primed to strike. In a flash, he cleaves the energy beam in two as if it were paper. The slash pierces the monster, striking its violet core and shattering its elemental source. The core explodes into fragments, and the creature's power begins to wane. Shards rain to the ground as the water beast finally collapses. The redhead stands over his fallen brother, the dark aura fading around him. He plants himself before his sibling, vowing to shield him from any threat. A wicked grin spreads, his eyes alight. He's now consumed by the terrifying dark force. Raising his sword over his brother, he declares he'll guard him against all foes. A lightning-clad hunter bursts onto the scene, shattering the tension. He darts forward, striking the redhead with a sudden, crushing electric blast. Leaping, he lands and declares he'll escort the boy to safety. He reveals himself as Manadu Aoi, the top S-rank hunter, here to save the brother. The redhead assumes a combat stance as the newcomer demands his identity, and warns him to stay out of trouble. The hunter scoffs, muttering on his calm that the boy will never cooperate. Unfazed, the hero lunges forward, dark blade poised to strike. Manadu notes the sword swelling, taunting the redhead for not recognizing his true power. Manadu boasts of his fame, but the protagonist remains indifferent. The hero swings his black blade again, only for Manadu to dodge effortlessly. The hunter apologizes, then declares he'll switch to defense mode as he readies himself. A blue energy blast erupts, proving the S-rank hunter wields astonishing power. The redhead staggers, his dark aura fading as fatigue overtakes him. He collapses, unconscious from the overwhelming strain of his unleashed power. Later, he awakens in a hospital bed, bandaged and bewildered. Spotting Manadu, he startles, shouting, "Are you really the legendary #1 S-rank hunter?" He inquires about his brother. The S-rank replies the medical team is already handling it. He reveals they discovered the redhead forged a fresh contract. Serious, he asks which entity the boy's new contract binds him to. The redhead admits he doesn't know. The voice has gone silent, a fact the hunter finds unsettling. Manadu asks why he pushed so hard for the promotion test, and the boy admits it was his lack of talent. The S-rank scoffs, saying he asked why he kept trying, not why he failed. Clenching his fist, the hero declares he'll catch up to someone, no matter what. He reveals that someone is his younger brother, determination blazing in his eyes. The hunter is stunned to learn his brother is the 5th-ranked S-hunter, a feat even F-ranks doubt. Amused, he laughs and asks if the boy is serious. Smiling, he admits he likes the redhead and finds him fascinating. He tosses a slip of paper at the hero, who stares bewildered. The S-rank bids farewell, urging him to meet at the address on the note tomorrow, a promise. The note bears a Japanese address pointing to a mysterious classroom. The following morning, the sleek campus basks under a clear, brilliant sky. In the hallway, he admits his nerves, questioning what awaits him. Summoning courage, he pushes open the classroom door. A massive blast erupts, hurling tables and chairs across the room. Amid the wreckage, a blue-haired boy brandishes a spear, poised to fight. A fierce blonde girl with red streaks storms in, eyes blazing. They lock eyes while the redhead watches, bewildered by the superpowered showdown. Outside, Manadu surveys the wreckage, questioning what transpired on day one. Back inside, our battered hero draws curious stares from the other students. A white-haired boy points, shouting that he's the one who sparked the chaos. A purple-haired girl clashes with the redhead, and the teacher watches the brawl with a grin. The instructor steps to the blackboard, launching the lesson to restore order. Smiling, he introduces himself as Manadu Isei, their new teacher. He calls on each student to introduce themselves, beginning with the blonde in the front row. She's Rin Shishiku, a D-rank hunter bonded with the hero Beowulf. Next up, Fugo Mizukiri, a D-rank hunter partnered with the Roman goddess Minerva. Suddenly, the blue-haired girl slams a classmate's head on the desk, declaring she's ready to dive in. She's Masamunabu, a C-rank hunter whose contractor is the famed swordsman Okita Soji. Her odd speech baffles everyone, but she beams with pride for her idol. Fugo comments on her eccentric outfit, and she lights up at his attention. She declares her admiration for the Shinsengumi, the legendary samurai of old Japan. Yet her ultimate idol is the 1st Division captain, Sword Virtuoso Okita Soji. Her outfit mirrors his, even striking his twin katana pose. In the shadows, a trembling figure lurks behind a locker. It's Okita Soji himself, baffled by how his contractor unnerves him. The teacher cuts the introduction short, urging the class to speed up. Hinata Cameo steps up, announcing himself as an F-rank support from the rear guard. When pressed about his contract, he admits he has none, shocking everyone. The teacher reveals Hinata sealed his contract just yesterday, leaving the blonde stunned. The white-haired boy grumbles that the war's been raging for 10 years, while the god candidate remains unbothered. The teacher launches a pop quiz, asking what the 4 students share. The blonde guesses their age, but the master says that's close yet incorrect. The white-haired student realizes they all possess wildly unstable powers. The blue-haired girl notes they can't sync with their partners. The blonde deduces they lose control easily, and the teacher confirms that's why they stagnate. The master reveals he gathered them for this reason, but first they'll review the basics. He lights a cigarette and asks, what's the victory condition of the Divine King's selection war? He calls on the white-haired boy to answer, but the boy looks baffled. The youngster responds that the god candidate and their human partner must solve Ragnarok together. The teacher turns to the blue-haired girl for the method, and she admits it remains unknown. He asks the blonde what they gain, and she says a king-bound partner earns a single wish. The master snaps her, noting they fight for personal greed, not the world's salvation. Thus the Academy's doctrine, contain monsters while hunting clues to seal the gate. He warns, though, that some chosen ones care nothing for others, glancing at the newcomer. The redhead stiffens at the mere mention of the god hunters. He confirms 2 dominant factions are racing to resolve Ragnarok. One is the Academy, the other a shadowy cabal, only one will claim victory. Hence the god hunters aim to crush rivals before Ragnarok ends. Smiling, he admits the Academy's situation is far from favorable. He reveals numerous elite hunters fell, with even S-ranks wounded in combat. The blonde gasps at the S-rank's defeat, while the white-haired classmate warns it will spark a massive scandal. The instructor, dark aura flaring, dismisses it. He's stronger than all S-ranks combined. The blue-haired girl admires his confidence. The other student bristles at his arrogance. Monadu snaps back to normal, stressing the urgent need to bolster their forces and why he gathered the promising youths. The class erupts with excitement, realizing they'll train under the top hunter himself. The redhead vows that hard work here will finally let him surpass his brother. The master turns to the newcomer, insisting his first lesson is mastering his power and teamwork. Smiling, he pats the boy's shoulder and warns, "Don't get knocked out," as a surge of blue energy erupts. A blue beam engulfs the protagonist, leaving him bewildered by the sudden transformation. Disoriented, he opens his eyes to find himself far from the classroom, alone. He finds himself on a barren battlefield, orange-hued sky littered with swords plunged into the earth. Scanning the scarred plain, he wonders where he's landed amid the shattered flags and countless weapons. The redhead dashes forward, shouting for the teacher and his classmates. Only silence answers. He sprints alone through the eerie wasteland, every path empty of life. At a cliff's edge, a mysterious figure sits waiting below. The silhouette remarks, "It's been a night since we last met," freezing the protagonist with shock. Recognizing the voice, he is rebuked for his disrespect toward a samurai. The entity rises, smiling, and declares it will overlook his rudeness today. The redhead hurls a question at the samurai, demanding why it fell silent, but the warrior replies he simply lost interest. He adds that the boy's resolve moved him, yet the battle felt like a pitiful, shameful charade. The swordsman declares the boy unworthy, offering his aid only as a one-time favor. He asks if the entity covets the Divine King's throne, but it flatly denies any claim. The samurai admits he's merely drifting through the mortal realm until the selection war ends. Undeterred, the redhead shouts he'll surpass his younger brother, no matter the cost. He pleads with Kuroyasha for its power to fulfill his ambition. A sideways glance shows the swordsman taking interest in the boy's desperate plea. He hurls a blade at the boy, offering a pact, "Wound me once, and his power is yours." The samurai readies for the duel, urging the boy to seize the fallen sword and begin. Kuroyasha, katana in hand, demands the boy prove his worth now. A terrifying red aura engulfs him, crushing under the swordsman's overwhelming power. His shaking hand reaches for the sword embedded in the earth. Clutching the blade, he roars, "I'll conquer this trial no matter the cost." He bolts toward Kuroyasha, intent on landing the decisive strike. Kuroyasha parries effortlessly, his superiority crystal clear. Sneering, the samurai declares the boy's blade can't even touch him. Swathed in dark aura, he taunts, "Are you scared to actually cut?" He warns that without true resolve, the boy will be the one sliced. The strike lands cleanly, shocking the redhead as the blade slices through him effortlessly. Confusion grips him as the sword passes through his body unhindered. He collapses, a crimson pool spreading rapidly around him. Gripping the boy's head, the swordsman sneers. What does it feel like to be nothing but an object? Kuroyasha is baffled by the boy's blank stare, as if he feels nothing at all. The redhead drifts into drowsiness, his eyelids growing heavy. He jolts awake on the battlefield floor, realizing it was all an illusion. He presses a hand to his neck, sighing in relief as his head remains intact. The shock twists his stomach, flooding him with nausea. He can't hold it back and vomits right there on the battlefield. He wonders if this is his end, recalling the samurai's merciless decapitation. The entity scowls, branding his reaction as pathetic. He declares that lords and heroes exist only within their own imagined realms. He conjures a vision of a massive battle, thousands of warriors clashing. He declares that every life and death there rests in his hands. The redhead realizes the illusion, and the samurai orders him back to his world. Dark energy erupts behind him, forming a mysterious rift in the air. The rift solidifies into a gate, and the entity tells him it leads home. The samurai bids farewell, noting they may never meet again. Yet the young man clenches his fist, refusing to accept that goodbye. Standing before the gate, he makes his final choice about the future. The samurai stays silent, awaiting the boy's decision at the threshold. Suddenly, the redhead lunges forward, his blade ignited with blue energy for a surprise strike. He lunges at the swordsman, but the strike is effortlessly parried. The samurai seizes his wrist, halting the unexpected attack. With a single motion, Kuroyasha hurls him to the ground, vaunting his dominance. Crumpled on the floor, the boy apologizes, and Kuroyasha demands the reason behind it. He admits his resolve falters. He's terrified of both striking and being struck. Yet he vows not to flee, recalling his brother even though he couldn't save his parents. With a fierce shout, he declares he'll gain the power needed to protect his family. The swordsman's eyes flicker with surprise at the boy's newfound resolve. The samurai orders him to rise, acknowledging his genuine determination. Just as hope rises, a crushing blow slams him backward with brutal force. The samurai acknowledges his resolve, but the terms of aid remain unchanged. He warns that to surpass his brother, the youth must first become far stronger. Kuroyasha declares he won't let him flee, striking him down again as he attempts an attack. The entity notes the boy could be beaten hundreds, even thousands, of times if needed. Bruised and bloodied, the boy rises, violet energy coursing through him. Sword drawn, he cries out, charging at the samurai once more. The swordsman smiles, praising his spirit and urging him to keep it alive. Yet his strike is futile, blocked before it can even graze his foe. A brutal blow rips open a deep wound across his chest, showcasing the harsh training. Defeated in countless ways, he howls in agony with every crushing strike. Days blur as relentless training rages atop the cliff beneath a dark, star-studded sky. Sweat-soaked and exhausted, the redhead steels himself for another relentless bout. Back on the ground, he declares the battle isn't over and vows to fight to the bitter end. The entity notes this is the 370th second, yet the boy still charges head-on. He lunges forward, sword drawn, confronting the purple aura samurai head-on. The swordsman suddenly senses a shift in his foe's tactics. A determined grin spreads as the youth finally reaps lessons from countless defeats. He roars, believing he's finally caught the samurai, his strike poised to land. Yet the blade merely grazes, leaving him seething at the near miss. Kuroyasha sees the repeated feint as bait, while the boy vows his next strike will land. The swordsman reflects, conceding that even a novice gains wisdom after countless defeats. He shifts tactics, unleashing a darker, far more potent energy. His sword morphs into a fearsome blade, cloaked in a swirling purple aura. The young warrior gasps as his master's weapon reshapes before his eyes. The entity declares mastery over all arms, conjuring a ring of hovering blades. He notes that in his era, sword alone won't suffice, and strikes the boy with a shadowy blade. Wielding a spear, he thrusts downward, mercilessly piercing the redhead's chest. Purple spear energy sears his body, delivering excruciating pain and freezing him in place. Panic flashes as a dark spear pierces his head before he can react. Switching to a bow, the swordsman surprises the boy with a fresh assault. Desperate, the redhead sprints, seeking distance from the oncoming long-range barrage. A violet-charged arrow slams into his back, eliciting a guttural scream. The impact rends his chest, a gaping wound revealing the samurai's grim visage beyond. The entity declares that against ranged foes, every rule is broken. Crumpled again, the swordsman taunts him for failing even a proper defeat. Brandishing a curved, gleaming blade, Kuroyasha vows to end the youth's suffering instantly. Yet the redhead erupts from below, landing a surprise strike on the samurai's chin. The swordsman realizes all the boy's agony was meant for this precise blow. Bloodied, Kuroyasha admires the youngster's cunning and resolve. He sheathes his sword, finally deciding the boy's fate. The redhead demands, "Was that a dirty trick?" But the samurai retorts, "A hit's a hit, my word is my bond." He vows to stand beside the boy until the final breath, a true battle companion. The entity presents its own katana, sealing their pact in a swirl of dark aura. Grinning wildly, The hero grasps the blade and thanks his new master for the chance. At the gate, Kuroyasha declares it's time to return to the mortal realm and end the training. As the boy steps toward the exit, a wounded, mysterious figure emerges beyond the portal. It's the blue-haired girl, warning that trouble has already begun outside. The youth asks if simply entering will send him home, and the samurai affirms it will. Startled by the violet portal, the redhead is rebuked by the entity. Don't fear every shadow. Impatient, the samurai shoves him into the portal, urging, "Move it!" From a distance, Kuroyasha watches the boy vanish into the vortex, a silent farewell echoing. He screams as he plunges into a swirling purple abyss, clueless about his destination. He jolts awake, his face pressed to the desk, back in the academy classroom. The room lies in ruins, his classmates gone, leaving him bewildered. A glance at the clock reveals only an hour has slipped by in the real world. Kuroyasha materializes, explaining the realm wasn't mortal, hence the time distortion. He adds, 3 days there equal a single hour here. The redhead grins wildly, prompting the entity to tease his odd expression. He wipes his sweat, grateful it's real, just as the teacher appears at the doorway. The instructor greets him with a warm smile and a reassuring pat on the head. A sideways grin spreads across the master's face as he notes the newcomer's training was a success. The entity fades away, and the teacher asks if the boy survived without being beaten. The youth admits he was crushed countless times during the grueling drills. Even an S-rank hunter is stunned. One defeat usually shatters anyone's resolve. He begs the samurai for an easier round, but the warrior refuses outright. Curious about his peers, the boy looks to the window the teacher points at. His eyes widen at the courtyard, where every classmate lies defeated. He wonders why, and the master explains he never fought them directly as he did with him. The teacher reveals he gave the others a minor skill test while waiting for his return. Now that he knows each of their abilities, the master declares a new training plan. From then on, all students trained in pairs to sharpen their teamwork. The first pair, Mizukiri and Shishiku, bristled at the teacher's plan. The white-haired boy sweats nervously, shocked to be paired with her. The blonde huffs in fury, refusing the partnership. The instructor flashes a poster of 2 straw dolls, outlining their task. The white-haired boy mutters a slur, calling her a gorilla, sparking her outrage. The master silences them, promising to set the rules on the training field before they clash. He then summons the next duo, Kamiyo and Ibyu, with the blue-haired girl beaming. He warns that their training will be a full-scale battle, abilities unrestricted. He sends them forward, and they stride down the hallway together. The redhead tries to chat, but his classmate stays laser-focused on the path ahead. She tells him to drop the formality and call her Masamune, since they're peers. Blushed, he agrees to use her first name, while she teasingly calls him Master. Suddenly she stops, recalling the teacher's rule against talking to one's contractor. She adds that his partner's fears seem to trigger his silence. Okita bolts in terror, and she shouts, baffled by his sudden dread. She reveals that after a decade-old contract, she's done everything to get closer to him. She even plastered her room with idol photos and posters, only to scare him more. She recounts touring every idol-link site, snapping pictures and taking notes. She admits she's studied his life non-stop since childhood to truly know her hero. She declares she talks to her partner non-stop, proving her respect and admiration. Frustrated, she shouts, questioning why the swordsman never reciprocates her devotion. The redhead doubts her obsession, seeing them face-to-face in the gym. He summons Kuroyasha, who materializes behind him, radiating dark power. Transforming, he draws his katana, eyes steeled for battle. The blue-haired girl marvels at their resonance, praising his gallant aura. He smiles confidently, revealing it's his first solo resonance. She challenges him. Bewildered, he asks why she won't resonate with her partner. She explains her contractor constantly avoids her, preventing resonance. Undeterred, she tells her classmate not to worry, she'll give her all in the fight. She unsheathes her blade in an instant, ready to strike. With a soaring leap, she descends on the redhead, blade aimed from above. Kuroyasha watches, impressed, letting out a gasp at her skill. The swordswoman reveals she trains at her family's dojo as an assistant instructor. The entity warns its partner, that girl isn't just playing. Enveloped in a blazing aura, she displays raw power, forcing the redhead to acknowledge her strength without resonance. Their swords collide with a thunderous clash, scattering sparks. The duel erupts, blades trading rapid, fierce strikes. Mid-fight, the entity addresses the redhead, irritating the young man who snaps, "Now?" The swordsman demands to witness her full power, urging the redhead to force her resonance at any cost. He reveals a simple trick to make any samurai obey. The hero nods, while she readies a crushing sword strike. The redhead adopts a stance, his katana pulsing with violet energy. He lunges forward, catching her off guard with an unexpected move. She spots an odd glow on his blade, her eyes reflecting the dark aura. Astonished, she watches the looming dark strike accelerate toward her. She attempts to evade, but the precise attack is too swift to dodge. In a desperate move, she raises her own sword, only to find it's too late. Suddenly, a newcomer intercepts the blow with a different weapon, shocking everyone. The newcomer gathers a massive surge of green energy, ready to counter. He unleashes the meteor of wisdom, a devastating, overwhelming beam. The blast slams into the masked, razor-toothed creature, striking it dead on. The force pins the monster, leaving it gravely wounded. The foe shatters into blue pixels as the redhead revels in victory. The team gathers, celebrating their flawless coordination. Pumped, they plan a house party, though the protagonist looks mildly irritated. Suddenly, the redhead spots a strange machine hidden in the hall's back. Mysterious hands turn its gears, triggering a secret mechanism. A suited man powers the device, opening a purple portal that spits out two figures. Grinning widely, he applauds the youths for passing the test and lauds their battle. The redhead, bewildered, thanks him awkwardly and asks if he's an academy instructor. The enigmatic man apologizes for the intrusion, then offers a proposition to the youths. With a dark grin, he recruits them into his feared god hunters. Back in the battle, the blue-haired girl gasps as her classmates' swords begin to resonate. She declares she may not know them, but she'll never let them touch the boy. Suddenly, Okita Soji, captain of the Shinsengami's 1st Division, arrives to aid them. The swordsman commands his ally to unsheath, and the young woman thrills at his presence. He pledges his power to crush the troublemakers, confronting the protagonist and his entity. Kawasha smiles, asking his partner if the events unfold exactly as foretold. The redhead regains composure, apologizes to his classmate, and explains his entity's warning. The entity reveals that samurai trust their instincts, compelling them to shield the weak. The young man wonders what to do, watching the girl through a circular vision. A dark voice whispers a blunt command: eliminate the girl. The hero yells for the entity to stop joking, noting it's only a feigned threat. The redhead admits that's why he attempted the attack, while Okita trembles with fear. The girl's eyes brighten as she finally sees her partner's genuine care. Tearful, she confesses she thought he despised her. Now she's overjoyed. She adds she feared they'd never speak again, as the swordsman averts his gaze. He squeezes her hand, apologizes, and explains he chose her for her worth. He invites her to fight beside him, and her cheeks flush with happiness. She bows to the redhead, while he declares he only wanted to witness her full power. She admits it's a flimsy excuse, but vows to repay them by unleashing her power. Donning a fresh look and a new blade, she readies to display her true might. He swiftly twirls his dark blade, gearing up for the clash. A surge of blue energy ripples across the gym floor, heralding a fresh assault. She lunges forward, executing a triple thrust that erupts with overwhelming force. The redhead reels from the lightning-fast strike, recognizing the grave danger. An immense explosion erupts at the gym's core, sending dust and debris soaring. Later, the pair trudges down the hallway, exhausted from the grueling training. Though all are spent, she beams with joy as the entities remark on the rigorous session. They reach Training Room B's door, scanning for their missing classmates. The protagonist wonders if the others are still playing tag down the empty hallway. Inside, they find the teacher sitting on the floor smoking, and the man asks about their training. The instructor remarks that the two finally got along, causing the swordsman to blush with embarrassment. The master ruffles the girl's hair, explaining he knew they'd only understand each other in a real fight. Suddenly, the redhead spots a fiery aura at the hallway's end as a monstrous creature materializes. The beast slams the ground, igniting a massive explosion of flame and debris. The blast hurls the other boy away, and he shouts at his classmate for the reckless attack. The teacher reveals the drill was a new TAD format, letting only the runners strike to master their powers. He admits, however, that their partners proved far more troublesome than expected. Iaford cackles wildly, urging his partner to mercilessly finish the foe. Elsewhere, a desperate youth begs his goddess Minerva to quell the enemy's fury. He scans the gym, bewildered, as his partner is nowhere to be found. Suddenly, a voice whispers, demanding silence because Minerva, goddess of wisdom, is sleeping. Stunned, he asks why she rests mid-battle as an assailant strikes from behind. He is savagely beaten, the camera emphasizing the brutal onslaught. Back now, exhausted students lie scattered as the instructor announces the day's final challenge. Manipulating finger puppets, he reveals the test, a 1-against-4 fight against himself. He grants a 5-minute reprieve, though the youths remain prostrate, drained. Shrouded in darkness, he waits while a student admits they can't win a simultaneous attack. The blonde asks if the redhead is scared. He replies he's not foolish enough to challenge Ines without a plan. The white-haired youth proposes a plan, but the girl doubts it will work. He insists they at least assign roles, given their lack of teamwork. He notes he and the blonde specialize, at range, or at close combat. They slot themselves front and back, leaving the redhead and the other girl to guard the center. The instructor checks if the strategy session is done as the quartet readies for the final bout. He flicks his cigarette skyward, declaring it the signal to commence the battle. Their eyes fixed on the descending cigarette, the four brace for the oncoming clash. The burly hero shouts for the blonde to charge, while the girl protests taking orders mid-fight. Suddenly, the enraged girl darts forward, unleashing a yellow charge strike aimed at the unsuspecting instructor. The master merely smiles, parrying the strike with one hand, her strength still can't surpass his. Spotting the gap, the redhead calls his blue-haired ally, who leaps forward, katana poised for a precise slash. In flawless sync, they surge forward, attempting to corner the arena's strongest hunter. From the sidelines, the blonde's partner cheers the strike, only to see the teacher unscathed. Calmly, the instructor notes their distraction plan was sound, but their shouts betrayed the whole scheme. Stunned, the protagonist sees their combined assault barely graze the opponent's defense. He spots the man resonating only select limbs to conserve energy, and pushes forward for a desperate strike. Furious, he launches a direct blow, only to meet the master's bored stare. Magical roots erupt, ensnaring the veteran's legs, prompting praise for the student's unexpected teamwork. The S-rank hunter erupts blue lightning, flooding the gym and hurling the 4Us aside. The instructor roars, declaring no one can match his brute strength as his power surges through the arena. The training hall lies in ruins, craters scar the floor and debris litters every corner. In just 20 seconds they're utterly defeated, collapsed and gasping on the shattered ground. Panting, the redhead questions the man's divine patron, noting S-ranks rarely reveal theirs. The class debates God's secrecy, yet the orange-haired youth senses a strange tension. A childish voice declares the scene boring, and the atmosphere instantly darkens. The enigmatic figure notes the war's stalemate, questioning whether the master can afford to toy with children. Terrified, the teacher screams, pleading for the unknown being to stay away from the boy. She unveils herself as Zeus, queen of the gods, radiating a fierce golden aura. Grabbing the redhead, she demands why the teacher trains the rivals instead of eradicating them. With a malicious grin, the entity snarls that wiping them out in one blow would be far more satisfying. She adds that the weak will fall, and the former king never cared for humanity. Later, dusk settles, casting the Hunter Academy in a serene orange glow. In the hallway, the battle's aftermath is clear, a gaping wall hole and shattered desks everywhere. Back inside, the students are spent. The white-haired boy mutters that it was blown out of proportion. The blonde protests, saying they were dragged into a fight against the toughest S-rank. The evil presence reappears, bathed in purple, revealing herself as the day's final trial. The white-haired boy asks, "Do we even stand a chance surviving this training?" The blue-haired girl slams the table, shouting that they'll never know unless they give it everything. She assures them not to worry about tomorrow, its problems can wait. The redhead lauds his teammates' optimism, while the blonde scoffs at the stress and urges them to head home. In the shattered hallway, the teacher materializes, relieved they're all still standing. Smiling, he warns that one final destination awaits his class. The exhausted students beg for mercy, unable to endure more training. Ignoring their pleas, the master promises a swift ordeal as he hauls them across the courtyard. He leads them to a towering modern complex, insisting they'll love what's inside. The protagonist and his blue-haired allies stare in bewilderment, clueless about the plan. Inside, the lobby's opulent chandelier and fountain leave everyone awestruck. They realize they've entered an elite dormitory reserved for top-tier hunters. A lavish cafeteria offers Japanese, Western, and Chinese cuisine for all residents. A state-of-the-art gym boasts the market's newest equipment. Luxury continues with a massive 24-hour bathhouse. The blue-haired girl marvels, then panics, asking about the rent. Smiling, the teacher says it's all free, leaving her stunned. A screen reveals the Hunter Training Institution, a government agency tackling the Gate crisis. It oversees Japan's chosen and trains aspiring hunters. Charged with citizen protection, its budget dwarfs the police's. The purple-haired classmate notes it feels like a 5-star hotel, with even fancier S-rank dorms. The blonde shouts excitedly, urging everyone to see the amazing room she discovered. Inside, a vast, opulent suite shines with golden light and a plush sofa. The instructor grins, telling them to savor the sight. Tomorrow, this will be their new home. Joy erupts as everyone bursts into celebration inside the room. The blonde erupts with pure euphoria, shouting a triumphant cry. She snatches the teacher, begging to stay, while the redhead frets about being stuck at F rank. The master confirms. Staff are thrilled to have them all. He flashes an occupancy permit, noting the sudden 4-room request that left the supervisor ecstatic. The two girls leap, exclaiming it feels like a dream realized. The white-haired boy proposes a housewarming, and the redhead nods eagerly. The white-haired classmate drifts into thought as plans swirl around the party. The redhead notices his friend missing and volunteers to handle the cleanup himself. At dawn under a crystal-clear sky, the youths gear up for the move. In the bunk room, the blonde girl beams as she zips up her suitcase. She bids farewell to the Azora orphanage kids, the place that raised her. The blue-haired girl gently stows her idol Okita's action figure. Sweat glistening, she nods, pleased with her meticulous packing. From a distance, her divine companion gapes at the mountain of boxes. The white-haired boy peers over the wall, shouting a cheerful greeting to his older brother. He stands relaxed and content, ready for the new academy dorm. Meanwhile, the protagonist bows at home, feeling a gentle pat on his head. He kneels on the tatami, hands clasped, offering a reverent prayer. Eyes closed, he whispers to a cherished presence. Before an altar of his parents' photos, he declares he's finally become a chosen one. He admits he still falls short of Yuzuki, though not for long. Clenching his fist, he vows to grow strong enough to protect his younger brother. He adds he's now the top-ranked hunter, a teacher, and has even made friends. Determined, he pledges to his parents to give his all from now on. Suddenly, his grandmother appears, calling his name and breaking his reverie. She apologizes for intruding on his talk with his late parents. She summons him to dinner. He turns, asking what's the matter. Glancing at the clock, he says he's pressed for time and will dine together later. The grandmother's expression hardens as she warns, "This could be our final goodbye." Stunned, the young man nods, agreeing to stay despite his confusion. At the table, she unveils his favorite dishes, urging him to eat heartily. The trio gathers, and the grandson thanks her, promising to savor every bite. The grandfather remarks he once told the same to his brother, reminding the redhead of an important lesson. With a solemn gaze, he declares, "I am my own person. I needn't follow his path." Moved, the protagonist calls his name, his voice trembling slightly. He admits his lingering fear, questioning if he can shoulder it all. Yet his grandfather reassures, "You've always had the strength to chase your dreams." The grandmother recalls how, as a child, he always rose and ran again after every fall. The elderly woman beams, proud of their grandson's relentless effort. The grandfather adds that his parents in heaven must be beaming with pride. The boy's eyes light up, hope flickering at their words. He smiles, vows to give his all and earn his own pride. With a heartfelt goodbye, his family's encouragement fuels his resolve. Weeks later, a training dummy shatters under a powerful strike in the academy gym. The instructor blasts through a megaphone, urging the next student to step up. The challenge: precision shooting at robots, 10 targets per trainee. The two girls ready themselves as the narrator calls them to action. The signal sounds, and they unleash a colossal energy blast, obliterating every robot. In the arena, the instructor signals a 30-second pause for the simulation team. Seizing the moment, our hero leaps skyward, ready to unleash a crushing strike on his blonde foe. He counters a rapid assault, parrying flawlessly with his dark blade. She hits the floor, grins, and urges him to give his all. He shouts back, demanding she hold nothing back, and readies his dark sword to strike. With raw power, the blonde tears a massive slab from the floor, wielding it as a weapon. She hurls the slab at him, and he braces for impact. Their collision erupts into a colossal energy blast that rattles the gym. When the clock hits noon, the instructor commends the class for their effort. He declares the morning session over, leaving the students utterly spent. The blonde cheers with her partner for staying composed, while the redhead concedes he can't match her strength. The white-haired student scolds his divine partner for nodding off during the second half. The teacher notes their newfound vigor, recalling how they once burned out fast. He observes that after 3 hours, everyone's resonance holds steady, time to move to the next phase. Smiling, he unveils the next stage, a mission to hunt monsters inside a factory. The 4 students gasp in surprise as their first real mission materializes. They're whisked to a massive industrial complex of pipes and steel structures. An employee thanks them, amazed at their swift arrival, and lauds the academy. The worker, frustrated, tells the redhead he can't halt the production line over every minor issue. The young man asks where the rogue creature is. The worker points upward to the sky. He glances skyward, spotting a flock of dark silhouettes circling above the factory. The birds morph into grotesque monsters, their skulls ablaze and eyes glowing. The worker admits no one knows when they appeared, but the beasts strike workers at will. He adds that 5 employees are already in the hospital from sudden assaults. He warns of nightly phantom rumors, causing panic and resignations. Clutching his hands, the employee pleads for vengeance for his wounded comrades. A steely gaze and a bead of sweat later, he vows to intervene. He roars, promising no flying monster will ever escape this place again. Alone, he questions how he'll bring down foes that soar so high. His divine partner appears, asking how he dared promise victory without a plan. The creature taunts, asking if he'll just wait for the birds to fall on their own. He scoffs, deeming it too slow, and summons his dark energy for battle. He slams the ground, unleashing a shockwave that tosses dust and stones. Propelled by the blast, he rockets skyward, sword drawn for an aerial strike. The creature reels, stunned by his swift ascent. Smirking, he declares he'll get close enough if they refuse to land. He lands a crushing blow, sending the monster sprawling. Suddenly, he plummets, a startled scream escaping as he loses control. Panic erupts as he realizes his reckless aerial gamble lacked a landing plan. Desperately, he cries out that he never considered how to land safely. He slams into a parked car, sending a chaotic shockwave through the street. Bruised, he crashes onto soft bags as his spirit scolds his recklessness. He struggles to rise, vowing the next attempt will finally end the mission. He darts back into danger, while his dark master questions his resolve. Above, the winged monsters circle the factory, poised to strike any intruder. He launches upward, shouting that the beasts will pay for underestimating him. A sudden strike hits him midair, pain ripping through his body. He's flung into a massive metal pillar, breath stolen by the force. Lying on the ground, he gasps for air as the swordsman warns the creature has been toying with him. The firebirds perch atop a gas tank, watching, waiting for night to fall. Frustrated, he covers his face, helpless against the towering monster. He recalls his master's weapon-switching technique from Shadow World training. He asks to try it, but the Shadow warns that true mastery demands relentless training. The entity grants him a chance, urging him to attempt it, and the boy's excitement spikes. The master instructs, first, picture your shadow as pliable, molten metal. He struggles to conjure a detailed bow, realizing the mental forge is tougher than expected. A burst of violet energy engulfs him, and he gasps at its raw force. The power fizzles. The samurai explains you can't forge a bow without ever handling one. The samurai orders his partner to hold position, noting the crisis has only deepened. Together they glance upward, watching a horde of winged beasts blot out the crimson moon. One of the birds erupts in blazing blue energy, its power surging dramatically. To the hero's shock, the monsters coalesce into a towering singular beast. He recalls the phantom rumors, realizing that's what the employee meant. A colossal creature wreathed in blue and orange flames appears, blaring with hatred. Stunned, he yells that all the foes have merged into one. Without hesitation, the giant unleashes an energy blast, shattering a metal tower. Debris erupts everywhere. The redhead scrambles for cover. The entity urges him to use resonance, lest he become the monster's easy prey. He attempts to channel the power. His sword ignites, but the energy flickers wildly. A purple crystal forms in his hand, then begins to fade. The energy vanishes, leaving the young man panicked and clueless about his failure. A soaring creature lunges forward, while the entity watches silently. Stumbling back, he wonders why his power has stalled. He yells in frustration, unable to trigger resonance as the monster readies its strike. Desperate, he darts behind a tangle of pipes, hoping to stay hidden. The colossal beast sweeps overhead, its eyes blazing with fury. Pinned to the ground, the samurai asks if he can wield the power. The youth vows to try again. He settles into meditation, a faint purple aura beginning to shimmer around him. The attempt fizzles, and he questions why resonance suddenly failed. The entity explains, it's the limit of his current vessel. The samurai urges his partner to recall the teacher's words from days earlier. Flashback to the classroom, where the instructor prepares to unveil the lesson. He scribbles on the board, today's lesson, the power of resonance. The white-haired student scoffs, claiming they already master it, and the class is pointless. The teacher fires back, demanding the boy define resonance for everyone. He answers vaguely, it's borrowing a partner's power, prompting the master to reject it. The master clarifies, resonance lets you wield the entity's strength as your own. Yet divine or heroic power overwhelms a mortal vessel. Misuse can cause loss of control or a total shutdown. Thus each chosen one bears a unique vessel designed to contain such energy. Each use of resonance expands and fortifies the vessel. A larger capacity prolongs resonance and amplifies techniques. The master reveals their training was meant to toughen this vessel. He adds, it's their choice to harness or squander their partner's power. Back in the present, the samurai asks if the youth finally recalled the lesson. The entity notes the battle's length drained the boy's energy. Thus, the entity urges a retreat for another to face the monster, but the youth hesitates. The swordsman challenges his partner's sudden doubt. Glowing feathers cascade down, embedding into the earth. The impact triggers a fiery blast, startling the redhead. He spots the feathers raining from the beast and braces for the next attack. The monster roars, its fury blazing as it confronts the duo. Its metallic wings glow violet, gathering a surge of energy. It unleashes a torrent of razor-sharp feathers at breakneck speed. Panic rising, he cries out the danger and scrambles for an escape. The entity urges him toward the nearest building, and they sprint down the street. Mid-run, his vision flickers, his divine partner's silhouette overlays his own. A feather pierces his leg, and he howls in agony, collapsing on the road. The entity shouts, "Don't stay down, you're a sitting duck!" Gritting his teeth, he rises and keeps running as the monster claws at his heels. The young man darts into a cramped alley, gasping for breath after the chase. The creature barrels into the alley's dead end, jaws gaping, ready to strike. He heaves, crouching behind rusted pipes to stay out of sight. He glances at his hand. A monster feather is embedded, blood spilling. The samurai declares they can't run any longer. The wounded leg has reached its limit. The entity notes the beast has lost their trail and urges them to call for backup. Suddenly, the samurai's eyes widen, spotting something odd about his partner. The young man summons violet energy into his palms, prompting the entity's question. He replies he's shaping the bow, recalling a near success from before. The samurai roars to halt him, calling the effort a futile waste of time. The entity says that with both of them drained, he can't forge a new weapon. The young man recalls the master's cue that the shadow must be a soft metal. He presses on, trying to picture the exact bow's shape to recreate it. He visualizes Kurayashi's training bow, summoning its form in his mind. He admits he never expected such a powerful foe and can't retreat now. Suddenly, the monster bursts onto them, shattering the pipes they hid behind. Irritated, the swordsman confirms the giant finally tracked them down. He yells for his partner to flee as the beast readies another strike. Yet the boy's resolve hardens. He declares enough is enough. He then unleashes the mastery of all weapons, powered by his dark energy. The monster instantly blasts a searing energy beam from its maw, aiming to end them. The red-headed hero summons a massive dark bow, forged by his contract's power. He lets out a battle cry, knocks the string, and readies the decisive shot. He releases a colossal energy arrow, hurtling toward the beast. The arrow strikes the monster's core, shredding it into dark feathers. While still in hand, he watches the fallout with steely focus. The monster collapses as the dark energy fades, leaving him standing firm. Grinning broadly, he cheers with his partner, finally triumphant. The samurai is left speechless, stunned by his partner's conjured weapon. As adrenaline fades, the wound's pain returns, and he whines about it. The entity ponders whether the power stems from innate talent or sheer focus. He realizes the boy may soon outstrip even his own limits. The hero hails his partner, only to get a dismissive, "Nothing important," reply. Out of nowhere, the master appears, ruffling the boy's hair and praising his mission. He declares the performance superb as the redhead readies his next challenge. Armed with a fresh training bow, the hero channels his energy for the strike. He releases a flawless training arrow, showcasing his newfound bow skill. The instructor exhales a cigarette, satisfied with the youngster's progress. The boy asks for feedback. The master replies, "Not bad for a rookie." With that accuracy, he guarantees the youth will thrive in real combat. The teacher lauds the redhead's rapid growth since his debut. He praises all 4 students, noting their intense training. The blonde hoists a massive rock, roaring with raw power. Her partner unleashes verdant vines, striking the target. The other boy blasts green energy, collapsing from exhaustion. He follows with a torrent of water and leaves, mastering elemental force. The blue-haired girl whirls her sword, summoning a blue energy cyclone against the robots. With a steely gaze, she signals she's ready for the next mission. A flurry of energy blades slices through every robot in one sweep. The protagonist celebrates the team's progress as the teacher hints at the upcoming rank evaluation. He glances at the calendar, realizing their current pace could ace the upcoming test. Suddenly, the master recalls the looming mid-year exams, sending the students into a panic. Memories of their dreadful grades flood back, troublemakers who've never aced a test. The white-haired boy spins, trying to warn the hero of the looming crisis. But the poor kid has already fainted, his soul fleeing at the thought of his F rank. The narrator notes the panic stems from the Hunter Department's uniquely brutal system. Once a year, a rank evaluation sorts students from F to S, crowning the elite. Since rankings hinge on exam scores, the top rise while the bottom fall. This rigid hierarchy constantly shames low-scoring students. The teacher apologizes, admitting he's unfamiliar with the academy's grading method. He's a perpetual first-place genius, never once fearing the exams. Back in the gym, the master announces the test will be the special class's debut, and he's thrilled. With a confident grin, he declares his students will shock everyone on the exam. The protagonist stays grounded, meeting the instructor's eyes with fierce determination. Later, our hero grabs lunch in the cafeteria, joining his friends. At the table, the blonde girl devours her meal, surprised when someone suggests a study group. The redhead urges action, fearing trouble, and asks who excels at what. A classmate admits most subjects are weak, while another proposes they teach each other. Immune declares the focus is now exam prep, excited about everyone studying together. The redhead notes the master's expectations, vowing to give his all this time. The blonde skeptically questions the study plan, doubting it will boost their grades. Undeterred, the blue-haired girl urges the 4 of them to unite and tackle the academy's challenge together. Glancing at their meals, they agree it won't hurt to try, given everyone's tangled circumstances. Night descends on the opulent dorm as the group convenes in room 300 to start exam prep. Shock ripples through them when they learn a classmate placed 8th in the grueling written test rankings. Furious, the girl points at the silver-haired boy, exclaiming she can't believe his unassuming face hides such brilliance. The protagonist and his peers stare in awe at the near-perfect scores, recognizing their friend as a true genius. Reclining, the silver-haired boy admits that a purely written test would have vaulted him to the top of D rank ages ago. They learn the standard exam splits into 3 sections, with the final grade calculated from their combined scores. The first segment is a written test covering monster biology and the lore of legendary gods and heroes. Next up is the practical test, gauging each student's physical prowess and combat effectiveness. Finally, the comprehensive exercise pits them against simulated giant monsters, testing their judgment. Yet the group's prodigy laments his poor practical scores, blaming his goddess Minerva's perpetual slumber during battles. The blonde inquires about the upcoming mythology focus and learns it will center on Roman and Norse deities. The setting shifts to a state-of-the-art gym, its machines glinting under the luxurious ceiling lights. Students sprint on treadmills as the blonde barks commands, refusing any slowdown during the grueling session. Eventually the redhead collapses from exhaustion, yet the others press on, giving their all to ace the test. At last, the teacher laughs, watching his team charge into combat, poof, they're finally ready. Rain pours as the protagonist wrestles with bow and arrow, honing his newfound combat skill. 2 weeks later, the mid-year exam dawns, and every student assembles in the grand hall. A frantic buzz erupts as the entire student body braces for the semester's pivotal exam. The white-haired youth gathers the group, revealing they've executed every tactic, and even a secret strategy, for the test. Clenched fists and steely gazes signal their unwavering confidence to shape their academy destiny. Suddenly, a murmur spreads as all eyes lock on a newcomer entering the hall. It's Yuzuki Kamiyo, a famed S-rank 5th, flashing a smile that sends his adoring female fans into a frenzy. The redhead's friends chatter about his fame, while the protagonist watches, clearly unmoved. From across the room, 2 brothers lock eyes, the tension palpable to everyone. Unfazed by the onlookers, the younger brother strides purposefully toward the protagonist's group. Halting before the redhead, he beams and calls him older brother, shocking everyone. The trio erupts in disbelief, shouting in unison at the revelation that the two are siblings. The younger brother remarks he heard they transferred to Professor Minato's elite class, eyes alight with curiosity. The S-rank sneers, labeling the group losers and useless, inciting fury. The friends snap back, telling him not to be arrogant just because he's in S-rank. The brother scoffs, saying those classmates are exactly his level. The redhead snarls, refusing insults toward himself and vowing to defend his friends. Slightly taken aback, the younger brother flashes a mocking grin at him. He turns away, taunting the group to enjoy pretending to be friends. The S-rank strolls off, smirking victoriously, shouting, losers, to bait his older brother. A cruel smile spreads across the younger brother's face as he declares the others will never catch up. The protagonist and his allies steel themselves, their eyes hardened by humiliation. The blue-haired girl finally grasps it. Those two are identical twin brothers. The white-haired classmate demands why the secret was kept, but the raid leader stays silent. He flashes back to the day a monstrous beast shattered his home and altered his destiny. Haunted by that devastation and his brother's choice, he bows his head, speechless. The 2 girls, seeing his turmoil, watch him with genuine concern. He apologizes for his insensitivity. The protagonist reassures him it's fine. The blonde then asks her friend if he's forgotten why they pushed themselves so hard. She smiles confidently, declaring they'll not only ace the test but also shock his arrogant brother. The redhead, stunned by her words, reignites his resolve for the upcoming test. He wonders if his newfound combat skills can truly astonish his younger brother. A sudden microphone crackle silences the hall, drawing every student's gaze to the stage. The academy director steps up, apologizes for his slip-up, and readies the semester's marquee event. He announces himself as Ranzo Todo, head of Hunter Academy, and again apologizes for the delay. Pointing to a screen, he outlines the test's strict 3-day format used in recent years. He admits the schedule exists because countless students perished in past comprehensive drills. Thus, early rounds were softened to weed out the weak and curb needless passes. Now, with a steely stare, he declares this year will begin with the hardest challenge. The crowd gasps. He warns that expecting a written test would be a grave miscalculation. He laughs boisterously, reminding them that true worth is forged in unforeseen trials. A cloaked, mysterious figure watches intently as the director unveils what lies ahead. The stage beneath the director trembles, morphing into an entirely new structure. A massive Torii-style gate erupts in the hall, stunning every student. The protagonist and his friends stare in disbelief, mouths agape. The gate swings open, unveiling a radiant violet portal that deepens the confusion. From above, the director watches the assembled students' reactions with a satisfied grin. He declares the exercise a class versus class survival showdown. Participants will be thrust into a virtual realm to hunt down every creature inside. With a rallying shout, the director urges the aspiring hunters to prove their training. The redhead locks eyes, ready to crush any obstacle in this surprise trial. He summons each class's representatives to step forward and enter the portal. First steps forward, Junichi-san, top F rank, fully kitted in tactical gear. He lets out a war cry, rallying his squad as all F-rankers plunge into the portal. Across the hall, a pink-haired boy watches, ready to lead his own team into the peril. It's Haki Yagami, top A rank, urging his classmates into the trial with fierce excitement. Next, Yorozu Kongoji, B-rank champion, commands his group with steely focus. Then Natsuki Satam, C-rank leader, shy yet poised for the coming fight. Bathed in golden aura, D-rank ace Makoto Ashiya exudes confidence, crackling with electric might. Lastly, E-rank leader Yutehiko Aizen stretches, bored, unfazed by the challenge. The protagonist summons his friends, and they stride toward the portal, battle-ready. From afar, a black-haired youth watches his brother, eyes steely, as the group steps into the trial. The director points to the S-rank, ordering him forward, strong, but still a student of the academy. He spots swirling blue particles, a clear sign the survival exercise has ignited. Floating screens pop up, broadcasting each team's battlefield, confirming the test is already underway. The F-rank team materializes on a colossal wall, confronting a massive golden dragon poised to strike. The A-rank squad battles fire demons in a hellish arena, wielding skill and raw power. The B-rank finds themselves in a submerged city, confronting towering sea beasts wielding aquatic might. The C-rank fights a raging tyrannosaurus in a dense forest, its eyes blazing with fury. The D-rank drifts through space, clashing with alien vessels and bizarre extraterrestrials. The E-rank confronts a goblin horde, their leader reveling in the chaotic melee. Watching the chaos, the director mutters with unease, "Perhaps this test is too harsh for them." A mysterious woman soothes him, explaining she balanced each rank's difficulty, so there's nothing to fear. The younger brother steps up to the director, demanding to ask the question before the trial. With a dark stare, he reveals he's heard whispers that losing to the water monster could cost him his rank. The director's expression hardens as he demands, "Who spread that rumor?" The S-rank smirks, shushes him, and assures the director already knows the answer. He offers a pact: defeat a top student, and his demotion will be erased forever. The director reads his intent, glances at the game console, and identifies his intended target. The young man taunts the director's age, brimming with confidence in his plan. The purple-haired woman snaps, calling him a brat and denouncing his arrogance. She wagers that if he wins, he'll claim her fourth-place spot in the Hunter rankings. The younger brother snaps up the challenge, promising to claim her reward before stepping through the portal. A wicked grin spreads as he warns her not to forget the deal, dark energy swirling around him. The portal snaps shut in a blinding flare, and he plunges into the virtual battlefield. Exhausted, the director grumbles, baffled by the reckless arrogance of the S-rank hunters. Inside the test, the hero's brother opens his eyes, scanning the scene with his heightened vision. He finds himself on a dimly lit old Japanese street, lanterns flickering among wooden houses. A phantom hand rests on his shoulder, and a sultry female voice calls him a handsome youth, trying to lure him. Beyond a fence, kimono-clad women beckon, promising fun if he has a moment to spare. He brushes past the invitation, leaving the women puzzled by his swift departure. She calls him cold, then her hand morphs into a claw, slashing him with violet-tipped nails. Surrounded by roaring flames, he remains unnervingly calm. Engulfed in fire, he challenges the examiner. "Is that all you've got?" She smirks. "Relax, I'm just getting started," and summons a blue aura dotted with paper talismans. She flicks the talismans forward, each pulsing with violet energy. The Y-rank grins maliciously, declaring, "Now the real fight begins." With a steely gaze, the examiner conjures new pentagram-etched talismans for a fresh assault. Purple spirits and monsters erupt around him as she whispers, "Exactly what I wanted." A barrage of violet beams rips down from the sky, striking him with crushing force. Flames licking his hand, the S-rank readies a counterattack at full power. He unleashes a cataclysmic wave of fire, incinerating every spirit in his wake. Flames part, revealing two hulking underworld guardians wielding massive clubs, poised to strike. Horse-headed and ox-headed beasts raise their clubs, aiming a twin-crushing blow at the youth. He counters with a burst of violet fire, repelling the duo's combined assault. The impact shatters the earth, embedding the guardians' clubs into the rebels' flesh. Hovering aloft, he taunts the beasts. "Hard to see in the dark, huh?" Smirking, he vows to illuminate their world and erupts a massive torrent of flame. He gathers an overwhelming blaze in his palm, primed for a wide-area strike. Unleashing his primeval glow, a towering column of fire erupts, scorching the city's skyline. The battlefield ignites completely, while he stands unscathed amid the inferno. He scoffs, "You're no fun," as the examiner slithers in snake form through the blaze. He warns that a head-on clash would see them crushed in an instant. Breathless, she watches her paper talismans ignite from the scorching heat. From a distance, the director observes, deep in thought, as the examiner presses on. Hand on his forehead, he scoffs at the absurd wager she just struck with the S-rank. Even while accepting his challenge, she never paused her other duties. Her Shikigami simultaneously surveilled the other battlefields. Now she watches all 8 battlefields unfold at once. She orchestrates every fight together, displaying unmatched control. The director declares the 10th generation hunters the finest ever, in both skill and numbers. The white-haired man then challenges Ayosaki. Does she truly have a winning plan? Her challenge: defeat the 5th seat and the entire legendary golden generation single-handed. The purple-haired woman tells the director to watch closely. She's got everything under control. With a dark grin, she vows to eliminate her opponent cleanly and efficiently. The boss warns her, as a leader, she must never lose to anyone lower in the hierarchy. Bathed in blue energy, the tale flashes back a year to the rise of the youngest S-rank ever. In an alley, a black-haired girl and a red-haired young man discuss the new 16-year-old legend. The redhead calls the girl Hitomi-chan, and she snaps, demanding he drop the suffix. He asks if she won't mentor the mysterious newcomer who appeared out of nowhere. He explains the director asked him, but he believes she's the better fit. The colleague notes they share something, and she angrily demands to know what. Lighting a cigarette, the red-haired youth pauses, then delivers his final answer. He notes they flip personalities like a switch, sparking the girl's fury. He flashes a phone photo of the new S-rank, demanding she see what's wrong. The boy smiles, yet his eyes betray a dark, hollow void. He warns that beneath that false grin lies a murderous hatred. He offers her a drink, calling her the kindest S-rank, his only hope. He begs her to be the sole one who can control that dangerous boy. She steels herself, grasping the gravity of the task ahead. He departs, saying goodbye and counting on her aid, colleague to colleague. She yells for him to stop, declaring she never consented to mentor him. She sighs wearily, crouching on the ground, utterly spent. A determined glare flashes. She's finally made her choice. In the present, she clutches cards, tears falling as she recalls a year since their meeting. The young S-rank stands amid flames, eyes locked on his opponent with steely focus. Flashback, she recounts trying to teach him her ways. Yet he remained lost in his own world, unchanged. He smiles, denies it, and unleashes dark energy. He summons towering fire skeletons, a testament to his newfound power. Empowered by her, he feels he can finally reach her, and readies his final strike. His powerful strike lands, detonating a massive burst of light and energy. Her fire blast shatters the towering skeleton, scattering its fragments skyward. Back in the fray, she grasps that sheer numbers won't clinch victory. With no other option, she readies a new, eye-glowing technique. She slices her own hand, admitting she may not control the form, yet vows responsibility for him. She offers herself to the fearsome demon lord, conjuring a surge of dark red energy. The pact seals, and the entity drinks the blood, unleashing its full might. A wicked smile spreads as she declares the battle truly begins. Stunned, he learns she's summoned her strongest Shikigami. She chants, summoning Demon King Shutandaji, commanding it to annihilate her foe. The white-haired youth watches, aghast, unable to comprehend the sight. Fear freezes him as he questions how she still holds such power. The demon lunges, slamming a crushing punch that sends him sprawling. He howls in agony as the Shikigami's force crushes his body. The monster pivots, poised to stomp the other youngster with full might. Undeterred, he ignites his flames, trying to halt the giant's crushing foot. He summons a cluster of fire spheres, readying a counter-strike. Unleashing the solar god's Yahello, his flames roar across the battlefield. The spheres detonate, battering the demon with a massive blaze. Bloodied but defiant, he vows to drive the beast back and never surrender. Yet the demon shatters the inferno, punching through to strike him up close. Frustrated, the young man bellows, branding the creature a monster as his attack proves futile. A sudden blue flame erupts, halting the demon's punch and shielding him. The flame emanates from the purple-haired woman, now stepping before him as his guardian. Kneeling, the director watches her and demands whether she exhausted all her power in that defense. A flashback shows the director berating her for reckless use of her power. The academy's emergency alarm blares, red lights flashing across the halls. Panicked, the young woman shouts that an unknown force is attacking. Two fallen hunters lie on the ground as the red-haired youth weeps in despair. Desperately, she yells to the director, warning of the unknown assault. The narrative rewinds an hour, landing at a dark castle framed by blue flames. Perched atop a wall, the redhead squad spots the sight. This is their test arena. The blonde grins, declaring they'll pass by wiping out every foe in the castle. The blue-haired girl and the protagonist wonder how to breach its gates. Suddenly, the drawbridge lowers on its own, unveiling a path inside. Everyone readies themselves as battle looms within the dark fortress. A legion of blue flame knights storms forth, and one boy taunts the incoming host. The clash erupts as the team charges into the city square against the knights. The blonde lets out a mighty roar, shattering the chains that suspended her. She slams into the ground, unleashing a shockwave that hurls enemies afar. The blue-haired girl closes her eyes, her bandana exploding into fragments. She unleashes a flurry of strikes, slashing every knight around her. The green-haired classmate notes the foes are weaker than expected, and the redhead concurs. Though the green-haired youth brims with confidence, the protagonist senses something amiss. He recalls that before training he would have fled a horde without hesitation. Now he sees everyone has grown far stronger, ready for any challenge. Empowered, the team stands fearless, determined to claim victory. Thrilled, the protagonist declares they can rush straight to the castle's top floor. Suddenly, a dark figure grabs the blonde's arm, turning the tide. The blue-haired girl lunges forward, slicing through bat-like monsters in a swift motion. Red-eyed, giant flying beasts descend, encircling the castle's knights. The green-haired ally summons earth spikes, crushing the remaining foes in a single strike. Battle over, the squad sprints down the castle corridors toward the next trial. They burst into a chapel-like chamber, where the green-haired youth warns, "This is the final room." As he pushes the door, a crushing darkness presses against him, leaving him unsettled. He cautiously peers through the crack, trying to glimpse the shadows within. Inside, the blonde grumbles, "It's empty. This had to be the boss arena." Suddenly, the green-haired comrade grabs him, urging, "Hold on, something's off." At the corridor's end lies a coffin. He asks, "Is that moving on its own?" A dark crimson aura erupts from the lid, where a blood-stained rose rests. From the gloom, a cluster of eerie red eyes materialize, fixating on the group. Without hesitation, she lunges forward, claws out, as the team roars her name. She smirks, admitting she won't wait for the enemy to strike first. A thunderous ground punch sends a shockwave, hurling debris from Deborah's ruin. Grinning, she declares, "Serves you right," confident in her surprise strike. From the shadows, a red-clawed figure emerges, aiming a silent strike at her back. The earth erupts, flinging debris across the battlefield with the new foe's force. The young man thrusts his sword forward, shielding his comrade from the lurking monster. The dark creature slashes with its blade. He parries just in time, while the blonde gasps. The redhead counters, driving the dark beast back briefly with a swift sword thrust. Grateful, the blonde thanks her rescuer, and he replies, "Glad I made it in time." The green-haired classmate berates the girl for abandoning their secret plan. The dungeon boss steps forward, a smirking vampire of unknown rank. Red eyes flicker in the darkness, fixing the team with a sinister aura. He summons a swarm of bats that merge into a massive, gaping maw. The green-haired friend trembles, sensing the monster's murderous intent. The blue-haired girl can't bear the pressure and squeezes her eyes shut. Fear paralyzes her, the aura rooting her to the spot. The protagonist steadies her, assuring they're no longer fighting alone. Wrapped in violet energy, the young man recalls every lesson they've trained. Sword raised, he roars. "After all this effort, we won't lose now!" The two classmates steel themselves, committing to a full-force assault. The swordswoman regains her footing, ready to prove her training. United, the team gears up to unleash everything they've learned. The strategist shouts for the blonde to stay in sync, but she brushes off the orders. The vampire darts forward at blinding speed, targeting the girl first. He slams her with a crushing blow, hurling her across the room. The fighter crashes to the ground as the impact shatters the surroundings. Suddenly, the vampire's visage twists, revealing his true monstrous form. From the floor, she flashes a wicked grin and taunts the beast. Unbroken, she clamps white claws onto him, daring the vampire to break free. Trapped and vulnerable, the strategist orders the remaining two to unleash everything they have. Seizing the moment, the redhead lunges forward, dark energy blade cleaving the foe. The vampire is bombarded by a flurry of strikes, unable to mount a defense. Spotting the opening, the protagonist urges the strategist to unleash his final assault. Goddess Minerva materializes in green aura, drawing a mystic circle for her spell. With a steely gaze, she releases a massive green energy blast. In the castle's heart, the suited man spreads his arms, beckoning all to join the dreaded god hunters. The youths freeze in fear, fearing a sudden ambush amid their mission. He raises a peace sign, urging patience. He's not here to fight. He flashes a roster of the four friends, revealing his boss's keen interest in their abilities. He flashes a grin, extends his hand, and formally invites the four to join his covert group. The redhead falls silent, a shadow darkening his face, clearly rejecting the absurd offer. The white-haired friend erupts, shouting that they aren't mercenaries for a villain. The blue-haired girl nods, declaring their rookie mission, wield divine power to save humanity. The recruiter retorts, admitting they take lives, but insists it's the only way to end the divine war. The hero, puzzled, asks if the villain's only goal is selfish ambition. The man bows his head, silence falling as tension thickens around the young heroes. A dark aura flares. He roars that he fights for nothing personal, his eyes blazing with fury. The redhead startles as the stranger begins to strip, hinting at a crucial reveal. Turning away, he displays a massive tattoo of angelic wings and Latin script etched into his skin. The mark reveals their holy pact and a shared, overwhelming longing beyond themselves. Other members bear the same mark, confirming a common, sinister goal. The friends stare in confusion as the protagonist ponders the unifying desire driving these foes. A wicked grin spreads as the shadowy figure readies the truth behind their ruthless deeds. A flashback erupts. Dragons raise the world. A ruinous portal shatters everything 10 years prior. He declares their sole aim. Rewind time to a pre-Ragnarok era of peace. The revelation shatters their world, leaving the friends stunned as if a mirror exploded. The recruiter smiles darkly, asking if erasing 10 years of tragedy isn't a worthy wish. The blonde girl screams it's a false, impossible wish, yet he insists they have a reason to believe. Leaning in, the villain asks the redhead if he, too, longs to restore someone from the past. The protagonist flashes back to his parents, horrified as the stranger pinpoints his deepest weakness. Blue-haired, she unsheathes her blade, yelling, "Enough talk, leave this place now!" A towering bald figure steps forward, warning, "Don't deny it, you crave the same power they seek." His looming shadow engulfs her, freezing the girl in terror. He steps closer, sneering, "I have nothing left to say." Suddenly, he coils his fist and launches a merciless strike. The blow slams into her face, reverberating through the dark castle. He repeats his cold words as the force hurls her backward. Crashing to the ground, she vomits a strange fluid while her friends howl her name in anguish. Enraged, the group knows words are done, only raw force will decide now. He unleashes dark energy, ordering his henchmen to cripple the young heroes without killing them. The recruiter laments his near success, while the giant scoffs, calling him soft for overtalking the enemy. He commands his men to haul the four away, then turns his sights on the remaining foes. The god hunters surge at the trio, who brace for the inevitable clash. In the chaos, the protagonist and the blonde girl fend off enemies closing in from every side. A furious roar erupts as the redhead strikes, igniting an all-out brawl in the castle hall. The protagonist lunges forward with a roar, only to be halted by a massive dark hand. A thunderous roar erupts, the battle raging as chaos engulfs the hall. From afar, the recruiter watches and taunts the heroes, asking if they finally grasp their peril. Defeated, the team hears the brute declare they should have used force from the start. A henchman shackles the green-haired boy as the villain orders him to seize the remaining captives. Bound, the redhead roars, vowing no foe will lay a hand on his friends. The giant disregards the warning, delivering a crushing punch to the boy's gut, eliciting a howl of pain. Crumpled on the floor, the brute sneers that reckless kids like him are a nuisance, tightening his grip. The blonde erupts in fury, ready to avenge her teammates' suffering. She lunges forward, unleashing an energy-charged punch that slams into the giant's face. The Colossus laughs, mocking the hit as nothing more than a tickle, showcasing his brutal resilience. He taunts her continued screams before flicking her aside with a single, effortless slap. Grabbing her by the jaw, he slams her to the ground, demanding she surrender. With a brutal heave, he hurls her into the castle wall, shattering stone upon impact. She's hurled outward, plummeting into a void of floating islands with no rescue in sight. The redhead reels in disbelief, frozen by his friend's sudden fall. He lunges toward the gaping void, but the chance slips away. The recruiter bellows at the giant, demanding why he's slaughtering the heroes. He warns that the brute's fatal throw will enrage their boss. The suited man clutches his head, panicking over what to report to the boss. A groan escapes the brute as a white-haired, flame-wreathed warrior steps forward, the true assailant. The villains gasp, eyes turning to the newcomer intent on shattering their scheme. The recruiter erupts in a frantic scream as fire engulfs the battlefield. From the blaze, a glowing-eyed silhouette materializes, seething with hatred toward the god hunters. The white-haired warrior lands, declaring he's finally identified the true cause of this chaos. Engulfed in flames, the boy shouts that the intruders interrupted his crucial battle with Iosaki. Staggering on the ground, the redhead hears the voice and is stunned to realize the warrior is his younger brother. The villains stare, bewildered, questioning who this newcomer is and what's happening. Surrounded by fire, Yuzuki cradles the unconscious woman, leaving the foes puzzled by the fifth rank's arrival. Our hero lies stunned, barely able to utter his brother's name, unable to grasp his sudden aid. With a flaming fingertip, the boy points at the enemies, signaling his patience has snapped and the battle resumes. He summons a blazing dagger, positioning himself before his fallen allies to shield them. The newcomer glances at the passed-out blonde and coldly commands her to wake up. He warns of an exit nearby, urging everyone to flee before the looming fight engulfs them. The redhead cradles his fallen comrade, refusing to flee while the battle still rages. Cloaked in dark aura, he rises and roars that they will fight together to the end. His brother coldly orders him to abandon the camaraderie and fight alone. He sneers, demanding the redhead understand his brutal intent. Declaring them dead weight, he banishes the failing group from his sight. The S-rank scoffs at a battered student, calling him trash and caring for no one. The brute addresses the newcomer, fifth seat, and demands a question. He reveals he dispatched dozens of elite troops and wants to know their fate. With a mocking grin, the S-rank feigns ignorance, questioning who those elite men were. The camera pans over shattered bodies as golden flames devour the battlefield. The remaining villains stare in disbelief as their allies fall in an instant. The giant roars, ordering his troops to drop the panic and brace for the coming battle. He declares this their sole chance. The warrior's fatigue offers a promotion to anyone who lands the kill. A legion of god hunters, eyes blazing red, surge forward for a full-scale assault. The giant commands a synchronized strike on the S-rank, even as he's encircled. From above, the lone warrior stands amid a ring of foes, weapons raining down. He unleashes a massive fire blast, birthing a vortex that hurls the attackers aside. The brute watches the S-rank's overwhelming might, awed by the firestorm's ferocity. Calmly emerging from the blaze, the boy proves he's taken down them all, shocking the giant. He lets out a wild laugh, asking what just happened, unfazed by the carnage. The brute erupts, his eyes blazing blue with fury. He roars, muscles bulging as a dark aura engulfs him. With a thunderous shout, he hurls a blue energy sphere at the boy, calling him a brat. He unleashes the Atlas X Alexis, a devastating purple beam that obliterates everything. The giant morphs into a colossal monster, soaring over the castle in terrifying form. The beast roars, purple energy crackling around it as nearby buildings crumble. In this form, it slams the ground, ready to strike. The redhead scrambles to shield himself from the crushing shockwave. The blast hurls him and his allies backward. The young man hoists his blonde companion and carries her through the ruined corridor. Panting, the boy gasps for breath after his grueling effort. He finds the others, and his teammate cheers that they're all unharmed. The redhead asks to move, but the other insists he needs a moment. The ceiling cracks open above them, heralding imminent collapse. They glance out to see the giant monster encased in swirling purple energy. Meanwhile, the younger brother darts toward the beast for the showdown. The creature scoffs, calling him an insect, and readies a full-scale assault. It slams a crushing punch, aiming to end the boy once and for all. A pillar of blue light erupts from the sky, halting the strike. A cataclysmic blast follows, known as the Titan Strike. The monster revels, only to realize the S rank has vanished, leaving it bewildered. From behind, the warrior materializes, declaring that raw power means nothing. He adds, "A strike that misses is a strike wasted." With a roar, he conjures a flaming spear for his next onslaught. He then unleashes a raging firestorm, his signature technique. The beast howls in fury, terrified by the boy's overwhelming force. A massive explosion erupts as the flame warrior's blow sears the monster. From a distance, the young heroes watch the prodigy annihilate the creature in seconds. The blue-haired boy grins, calling the younger brother a true elite hero. The red-haired hero bows his head in silence as his teammates call echoes, his gloom puzzling all. In that instant, the boy reflects on becoming the chosen one, realizing he'd been fooling himself. He once believed true power let him walk proudly, unaided. Now he thinks he finally has the strength to shield anyone he loves. He recalls past battles, but sees they pale before reality's harshness. The sight of his fallen friends forces him to accept how cruel the world truly is. Clenching his fist, frustration boils, his body trembling with rage. With a soul-deep cry, the redhead vows to grow stronger, refusing to be dead weight again. The blonde veteran watches, astonished by the boy's fierce resolve. Soon his expression softens, understanding the sting of helplessness against a mighty foe. He offers a reassuring smile, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder, saying it's just big brother concern. In that moment, the two teammates stir, alive and healing, as Light re-enters the fray. His friend urges him to grow with the team, promising they'll conquer any future challenge. Thus the brutal castle siege ends, leaving only smoldering ruins. The official report later lists 2 dead, 11 wounded, 20 others, and 7 missing. Targeting rookie students shatters the academy's foundation, striking terror into every pupil. We learn the Vanished join the god hunters of their own accord, while the villains observe from their hidden base. The red-haired hero snarls, declaring the team can still fight despite the tangled crisis. On screen, the elite prodigy lambasts the team as a mysterious figure watches from a theater. The light-haired boy watches in shock, questioning the true fate of the young warriors. From the shadows, the villain smirks, noting the twins' intriguing power.